Happy Valentine's Day, honey. Here's some flowers, here's some chocolate, and a great card to show you how much I love you. Oh no, what's wrong?
Well, that's nice and all, but what I was really looking forward to was some tiny bottles of shampoo and some more shower caps.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. Man, oh man, am I excited to be here with you today. I've been traveling all over the world in the last few weeks, and I'm excited to be back at my home base office here in Long Island, New York. If you could believe it, I've actually been to Germany, the UK, LA, Puerto Rico, and Miami, as well as an amazing airport hotel at JFK overnight. All right, that wasn't so much fun, but what are you going to do? I am back here in the office and ready to go. I've got a great guest with me for the first time into the podcast, but before I bring him in, I am so stoked. I teased it before, but I'm ready to announce a huge contest that we are doing in partnership with Joieful, the market-leading and travel tourism experience platform for visitors in New Orleans, the Young Hotel and Residences, which is a recently renovated ultra-luxury hotel in the heart of New Orleans. We are pleased to announce a big competition where each and every one of you have a chance to party with me in New Orleans during Jazz Fest and even go see the Rolling Stones. That means 2 free tickets down there, free hotel rooms, airport transfers, the stress of hanging out with me in New Orleans during an absolutely incredible event. You can learn more about this at No Vacancy News in the No Vacancy newsletter, which you can subscribe to by texting the word hotel to 66866. That's the word hotel to 66866. Or check out this whole long thing, joieful.com/page/Mr-Big Stuff or Fest-Experience-Contest. That's why I want you guys to just subscribe to my newsletter. Check out the newsletter, and all that information will be there in there for a simple link. But I'm so excited to be partnering with the folks at Joieful and the Young Hotel to be bringing this absolutely amazing contest with you, and I really can't wait to go check out the Rolling Stones in New Orleans with our lucky winners. So we're going to have more about that. I'm going to be putting in some videos with some more specifics on that. So take a look around the No Vacancy News Network. Find me on LinkedIn. Find me everywhere that you are, and we're going to talk about this. All right, so today we got a really cool guest with us. One of the things that I think about is what it's like, that whole process of building, creating, and opening up a new resort. And what is the general manager's role in that? I see a lot of times these guys and women, they come on board a good year or so in advance before the property opens. And I wanted to go behind the scenes, peel back the veneer, see what actually happens. And that's why I have the recently appointed general manager of the Cabrits Resort and Spa, Kempinski, Dominica, which is opening up later this year. And I'm totally excited to totally mess up his name right here, and that's Michael Schoonewagen. Now, Michael, you've got a much better pronunciation of your name than I could ever imagine. Welcome aboard, and embarrass me with the right way to pronounce your name.
No, don't worry, Glenn. Hi, thank you for having me. It's lovely to be on board with you. And you pronounced it pretty good, actually. The name is it's a Dutch name.
Yes.
It's pronounced in English Schoonewagen.
Mm-hmm.
In Dutch, we would say, now don't laugh, but we would say Schoonewagen.
Schoonewagen, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In the Dutch language, so there you go.
Well, I've got a Jewish background, so I got Hebrew in my background, so I'm good with the and all of those kinds of sounds. So I do have the power within me, Michael, in order to say your name correctly. Right. All right. So we're just gonna treat you today as if you are, like Madonna or something like that, and just use your name, Michael. Does that sound okay with you?
That's perfect. I'm used to that. Don't worry.
So, first, I think the best place to start is, how did you get involved in helping be a part of a brand new resort experience?
Well, first of all, this has been my whole life for the last 27 years, as you can see I'm getting on.
Yeah.
But it's not a question of getting involved. As an international hotel career, an expat, if you like, we go around the world, and every 4 to 5 years, we either change via a headhunter or via the same hotel chain we were in the afternoon.
Right.
that's been basically my life since 27 years. Every 4 or 5 years, you change somewhere in the world.
Wow. Well, all right, before we continue, I got to ask, what is that like? Because you put down roots, you get to know all of these people, and I guess it's somewhat being part of the military. Once you're comfortable and you've got everything figured out, your whole life gets upended.
Yeah, you know what, Glenn? You've hit it right on the nail. And there are, as everything, there are advantages and disadvantages in everything. Here, the thing is, yes, you do actually lose friends that you've made after 4 years, etc.
Right.
That's the downside of it, but it's the only downside. Look at the upside. I mean, wow, living around the world as an expat, everything's taken care of. Your children, schooling, housing, etc., etc. And there's also something very interesting as well for expat GMs, if you like, which is actually tax-free.
Right.
So not many people can say they've lived for the last 27 years tax-free, so that's great as well.
Wow.
But otherwise, it's just simply interesting, if you like, changing from country to country. But getting to a certain age now, I think to myself, well, maybe I should settle down actually one day. And you know what? And this will sound funny. And I never would have thought this 6 months ago or 8 months ago. But Dominica, where I am now, and I'll explain a little bit more about it later, I guess, is an absolutely unbelievable, untouched place, which hardly anybody has ever been to. There are very few tourists.
Wow.
And this is going to be the future place to come in the Caribbean. I have no doubts about it. And I'll explain to you why a little bit.
Wow. So that's pretty wild. Before we get into specifically your current assignment, what are some of the other places in the world that you've been? And then I want to get into how has that shaped you both as a general manager and a human being?
Well, okay, I started off very briefly. I'll go through the countries I've been to. I started off in what we call the Comore Islands, which is, don't worry, nobody's ever heard of it.
Nope.
It's a tiny little island off in the Mozambican Channel, just off the coast of Africa, of Mozambique. And following that, I've been with luxury chains around the world in Moscow, and I was in Moscow in 1991, 92, just after Perestroika.
That must have been an unbelievable experience being a part of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was several years in Madeira, an island in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Portugal, in mainland Portugal as well for 4 years. I've been the past 4 years in St. Martin in the Caribbean, and before that 5 years at the helm of the St. Regis in Bora Bora. So that was rare. And people, when I say that, actually, you know what, just for the anecdote, when people say to me, wow, Bora Bora, that's so fantastic. You know what, that is a very difficult place to live in. It is so isolated. I mean, your closest, let's say, besides Tahiti, of course, which is quite a large city, but it would be Hawaii, which is 5 or 6 hours flying. It would be LA, which is 8.5 hours flying from Tahiti. So that's quite an isolated place, but it's absolutely stunning.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. So how do you go from being involved in a major city such as Moscow to a little itty bitty dot of an island somewhere in the South Pacific?
Yeah, that's a good question too. It's just the way that my career took me, and your career is made up out of two things, or mine is anyway. Headhunters calling you, chains taking you from one place to another.
Right.
And it also might be, especially for my position in St. Martin, was because of a previous general manager who I'd worked twice with, actually, called me to come back to St. Martin. So it just depends a little bit on circumstances and who you meet, and
Yeah, of course. So have you ever been a part of opening a resort or a hotel before?
Yes, absolutely. I opened the several hotels, but as a GM, if you like.
Yeah.
I opened the Royal Mougin in the south of France. That's in Cannes, where the Cannes Film Festival is, which belonged actually to the owner of Oberoi Hotels, which is a fantastic Indian luxury chain. And then I actually joined the St. Regis Bora Bora to reopen it because it was hit by Cyclone Oli in beginning 2010. And so I came along just afterwards to reopen it because it was destroyed, basically closed for 6-8 months. And now this hotel here where I am now.
Wow, unbelievable. So what kind of qualities do you have to have as a general manager in order to be successful in so many different places around the world? Because we're talking different cultures, different languages, different product types. Yeah. It sounds to me like you've really got to learn on the fly and just be open to all of our wonderful, incredible differences that we all have between our cultures.
Yes, well, besides the fact of something very important, which is experience. Obviously, it's not something you can learn. Obviously, your experience will tell you what to do and not to forget things, etc. Of course, but I think there's a very important quality, especially when you visit countries like, or live in countries like I've lived in, is to adapt oneself to the local mentality, and that is very, very important. And I don't know if it's in my blood or not, but I think the Dutch, I'm Dutch actually, so travel around the world are known travelers actually for many, many generations. Centuries, if I may say, and I think that it must be in my blood to be able to adapt. And funnily enough, after 2, 3, 4 years, I actually feel very part of the population, and I actually tend to take on their ways of speaking, their different habits, and I just love it actually. To be honest, it just makes me feel one of them. That's
pretty cool. I want you to take over a hotel in Brooklyn and see what happens to you in 5 years.
I'm not too sure about accepting that one.
So it sounds like you're very well prepared for this new assignment that you have right now. So how did you get involved in this particular project?
This particular project actually is a headhunter that contacted me. Well, let me start again. In St. Martin, there was a terrible hurricane, which happened in September 2017, called Irma. And it was the strongest hurricane recorded in history. And very unfortunately, the hotel I was running had $25 million of damage and was closed. And we didn't know if it would be indefinitely or if we would repair it. And a couple of months later, a headhunter that I'd been who knows me for many, many years actually, came along and said to me, listen, there's this project in Dominica. And I immediately said to him, oh, but Dominican Republic is not so much my thing. And then he said, no, you don't understand. This is Dominica. Right. There's nothing to do with the Dominican Republic. And this is a mistake that many people make. Yeah, totally. Included, actually, because nobody's ever heard of this island. Right. And just incidentally, they do say if Christopher Columbus were to come back 500 years later now, the only island he would recognize in the Caribbean would be Dominica, because nothing's changed, actually. So I think that's quite funny, but it says it all. Yeah. And he said to me, there's this project going on with this hotel company, Kempinski. He said, do you know it? I said, yes, of course I know it. It's one of the top luxury hotel chains in the world, actually. It's a worldwide company with close to 80 hotels and another 20 opening soon. So I said, well, I'm not far. It's 45 minutes flying from St. Martin. Let me go and have a look. Yeah. And so off I went and had a look. And to be honest with you, the first, hour I was here, because I arrived quite late in the evening. And I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to be here. There's actually nothing on this island. Right. And after 5 days, I turned around completely and I thought, what an island. It is unbelievable. And then I went back to St. Martin, where I was working. And after 2 weeks, I was actually longing to come back. Now, I've been looking for a word or a sentence to put this into perspective, or into how can I explain to people why I'm so attracted to Dominica. And every single person I ask who's been here says it's my favorite island. And I cannot explain why. There's something about it. It's like you're in Jurassic Park, but just even more lush, if I may say. But it's just unbelievable. You know that Pirates of the Caribbean was filmed here, 2 and 3. Yep. Actually, so it gives you an idea of what it's like. It is just unbelievable, and there's just something about it which is unexpected. Okay, so what is it about this particular island destination that interested not just you, but Kempinski to make such a massive investment? Well, first of all, Kempinski already has their first hotel in the Caribbean, but it's in Cuba. Yep. And so this opportunity came up, of course. And first of all, it's an unknown island, to say, compared to all other Caribbean islands. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be just another lovely hotel opening on another beautiful beach in the Caribbean. Right. It's not that at all. Okay. There is so much to do in Dominica compared to other, but people don't know it, actually. You could go on. 5 days is not enough to get around to do all the excursions on the island. Really? Yeah, absolutely. It is absolutely incredible what there is to do. There are 365 rivers on this island, so one for each day, if I may say, and there are 300 cascades with pools at the bottom. And there's nobody around because there are not very many tourists. Right. And you can go and walk, and you can just jump into a pool and swim in it. It's just a natural pool, and you have like crayfish swimming around under you. It's really like you're going back 100 years. Wow. There are, if you like, on the island there are the famous Trafalgar Twin Falls. They're two beautiful falls that are next to each other. You can trek to the world's second largest boiling lake, actually. You can snorkel in champagne, what we call champagne bubbles, because it's a volcanic island, and actually it's the heat that comes up and the air that comes up out of the earth, and it's like champagne, and it's warm on top of it.
Wow.
It's like a bath, yeah. Then you have natural sulfur spas. You have the famous Indian river boat ride, which is in the movie Pirates of the Caribbean. And then you have a couple of things. So there's something very interesting. Initially, the Caribbean was inhabited by the Kalinagu, the Caribs, if you like, a long time ago.
Right.
And there are only 2,500 Caribs left in the world.
Wow.
And you know where they are?
I'm going to guess Dominica.
Exactly. The Kalinago territory, where there are 2,500 Caribs left, actually, and they have their own, I mean, they're under Dominican law, of course, but they have their own, if I may say, traditions and way of doing things, if you like, which is absolutely amazing, a different way of building even their houses. Everything is different what they do, and they live in Dominica, actually.
Yeah, so
on
this...
and just one more thing I may say. This is the only island which has resident sperm whales who live here year-round. And when you go out to do whale watching, 90% of the time you will come across whales.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is pretty amazing. So as we're talking, I happen to pop on to discoverdominica.com, and it's so beautiful. I have a half of mind never to release this podcast because I don't want anyone to know about this place. It's so gorgeous.
Need people to come here, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really absolutely terrific. So I understand why you're up for the challenge. I get why Kempinski wants to be a part of it. So I'm going to have to guess, even though it's an island that it's not common, especially here in the American vernacular, that you have infrastructure for air travel and stuff, so that way when you build a resort, you actually have the means for people to get to the resort and for you to supply the resort.
Well, let's put it this way. Effectively, the only downside, if I may say, but it's at the same time, it's also an upside,
right?
Which means that's why it's so rarely visited. It's not that simple. You do have regular flights coming in from all islands around. From St. Martin, you have 4 flights a day. You have flights, 2 or 3 flights a day from Guadeloupe, from Martinique, from Antigua, St. Lucia. So, if you like, you have to get from, let's say, we're talking about the U.S. now. You have direct flights from New York, for instance, to Guadeloupe, to Martinique, St. Lucia, to Antigua. You have direct flights from Miami.
Yep.
You have direct flights from Charlotte, Atlanta, etc., etc. I think there are around 10 U.S. cities which are linked directly to the Caribbean and to the close islands around us. Then you have to hop on a plane, a local airline like Liat or Winair, etc.
Yep.
But now listen to this. Because to make things easier, what we are at the moment doing, and I can't say it's signed, but it's very close to being signed. We are busy setting up our own little airline, which will have 2 or 3 little airplanes, and we will come and pick you up wherever you like. Well, wherever within a reasonable circumference, if you like, around the island,
right?
Like 1 hour flying, if you like. And we will include that into, or build that into the room rate, if you like. So you just get to Guadeloupe, to St. Martin, to St. Lucia, or to Antigua, and then we will be there with our own pilots and people, and put your luggage right into our little plane and bring you over here.
Wow,
so that'll be great.
Yeah. So that sounds really terrific. So
yes.
I've been looking at the resort, what you expect it to be when you open later this year. It looks like you're going to be opening in the fall. Is that correct?
Well, we're saying Q4 2019. I initially we have an opening in October. That might differ to a month, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's say Thanksgiving.
Well, I would think it would be challenging for you to come up with a specific date because you are so far removed from a lot of things that, if one plane or boat doesn't show up with essential supplies, then you're going to get a delay.
Well, put it this way. We're working with a very professional construction team.
Right.
And I have regular meetings weekly, if not more. And they sort of, they're used to building hotels in the Caribbean especially. And they will tell us more or less, they know exactly when things come in, go out. and even if they know that, well, once it's coming to customs, they know that there's a delay of a week or whatever it may be, and so they make their calculations pretty much on time.
Right. So by partnering with these folks, they're able to keep the construction process moving forward because they have a deep understanding of how to get stuff to wherever it needs to be, get through customs, get out to your site, and to build it. So what is this experience going to be like? Because you're right in the middle of a national park. That's really interesting to me.
Yes. Well, I mean, look, I arrived here in July last year, so obviously a lot has come on already. But I mean, there are so many different chapters, if I may say, and it goes from, I'm not a builder or an architect, but it goes really from we have what we call a critical path, and we have to make sure, and these are things that have been done and proved, if you like, everywhere in the world. So you know exactly, so many months before I've got to start thinking of putting Wi-Fi in, or so many months before I've got to start ordering uniforms. Right. So many months before I've got to start putting out an ad that I need to hire certain people. So there are about 3,000 or 4,000 different questions or remarks to remind you of, sort of what, just that you don't forget anything, of course. But it's very interesting in the sense that it comes really from foundations to where we are now with roofs on, and we're already installing the bathrooms.
Right.
And now I'm actually on the different kinds of uniforms, so we're choosing what we'd like to have. And so it's a great thing of creating something, actually.
Yeah,
that's like you take over an hotel and everything's already running. And, you can do a little bit to make it better or not, or this is really from scratch. So that's good.
So that's a great challenge.
If I may say, Glenn, there are two things in this. There's actually the opening of a hotel, which many GMs have done, obviously, around the world. But there's another part of it, and this is actually everybody has his own why. This is my why. So, which GM in their lifetime gets the opportunity not only to open this is going to be the most beautiful hotel in the Caribbean opened in the last 10 years, but which GM in his lifetime gets to open a hotel such as this one, and also to launch a destination which is unknown? Who can say that in their lives? I mean, everything's discovered today. Right. Everything. This is undiscovered, and it's not as simple as saying, "Oh, I'm going to put an ad in the paper and say, people are going to come to Dominica." First of all, they think it's Punta Cana or somewhere else, but it's really. And this is new to me as well, because nobody who's really launched a real destination. So obviously we get help from PR companies based in New York and England, in London, in Paris, etc. But really, that is my why. It is so exciting to be able to explain to people what this is. That is really interesting.
Yes,
that's my why.
Well, that's pretty cool. So I love that detailed explanation. So you're in the middle of all these things. You mentioned you're actually thinking about uniforms right now as we record this in the middle of February. What are the other things that you're thinking about right now, 8 months out from your proposed opening?
Well, right now I'm starting to think about human resources and training, because that's another challenge that we're going to have here, of course, as there is no 5-star resort on this island. There are a couple of sort of eco resorts, but they're all very small, between 2 and 6 rooms, if you like. There is the major hotel in Roseau, which is the capital, which has around 40-odd rooms, but they're not a 5-star resort, if you like. So this is really the first one. So our guests are going to come here. Obviously, lots will be regular Kempinski guests, but also new guests who will be used to traveling in, among the top chains in this world. They'll be coming here with expectations. I mean, obviously, they want to see the adventurous side of Dominica and go out into the rainforest and go out to go on the trail, walking for 5 hours or wherever it may be. But then they want to come back and have, and they're paying for it, and the room rate will obviously be a normal 5-star rate. They will want to have service and proper food that they want and that they're used to and that they expect. And that's going to be the challenge, if you like, of the next, I'd say, 6 to 8 months, but it will not finish after 6 to 8 months. It'll be an ongoing thing. So what we're going to do is actually have 2 trainers come from Kempinski in the beginning of May, and this is what I'm planning at the moment, because you asked for what I'm doing at the moment. Each one will do a 2-week training course, a basic training course, and each class will take approximately 30 people, and so that means that each one will get through 60 in a month, and we'll do it for 2 months. So it'll be approximately 240 odd people that will go through this training, and we will get the word running in our village very close to us that this is what we are looking for. We will train people we will go through the basics of hotels, if you like, for 2 weeks for free, if you like. And of those 240 or 300 people who will go through that course, if you like, the trainers will say to us, listen, of those 200 or 300, well, these 150 we think will be more suited to work in your hotel. And then we'll take those on, we'll hire them, and pay them a salary, and then we'll do our sort of classroom setup, and there will be daily training until the opening, and even after the opening for the next 2 years, I guess, we will have like role playing, if you like, sitting down, how to serve, how to open a bottle of wine, how to present it. I mean, all those basic things, if you like. So it's going to be very basic. And this, I did exactly the same thing when I was much younger in the Comores, which I explained in the beginning. It was also an opening on an island, which was the first 5-star hotel. For that matter, it was the first hotel on the island.
Right.
So we had our sort of school, like a hotel school, if I may say, and it's ongoing, non-stop training. So and people are, and you know what? The thing here in Dominica, and I would say compared to the rest of the islands in the Caribbean, I know quite a few. People are so nice here. It is just incredible. It's not an island spoiled by tourism, obviously, for evident reasons, but people are just naturally nice. You know, you walk into a shop and they say, hi, how are you?
Right.
But they actually really mean it, and they want to hear an answer. And
Right.
so, where are you from? And whereas if you go in, you know, everybody knows that you go in the US, you'll walk in the shop, hi, how are you doing? But whether you answer or not, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You know, but here, it really matters.
I feel like if I lived in Dominica, I'd be nice too. you know?
But honestly, people are just that nice. They're just relaxed. So obviously that has a downside. They can't be too relaxed in the hotel when guests are expecting to have their plate delivered to their room, within 20 minutes or whatever it may be. Well, it can't be an hour like Dominican time. But that we're just going to have to train them on that. So
right.
So that's interesting, and that's a great, and it's crime free as well, which is you can't say for all the Caribbean islands.
No,
Dominica is crime free.
Wow,
which is amazing. Yeah, you feel safe. I can walk at midnight in the street here in the second. We live in the second biggest city on the island, Portsmouth.
Yep.
And I can walk around midnight and nothing will happen.
Wow, that's really beautiful. Just to give you guys a better sense of where he's coming from, right now it's 28 degrees Celsius and 82.4 degrees Fahrenheit over there. So you are really in just a wonderful place with lush rainforests and a great experience. So one of the things that you are going to be doing at the property, and our time here is almost is over, but you're actually looking to have meetings there, and you've got a spa there. I mean, this is really a full-service resort.
Absolutely. We have a full conference center, okay, with 3 conference rooms, 1 larger one and 2 smaller ones, if you like, with breakaway rooms. So we are also looking to do what we call in our jargon the MICE market, which is meetings, incentive conferences and events, if you like. And so we will be targeting that market because, you have all these big companies, all these big car manufacturers, all these Oracles or whoever. Every year they take around between 100 and 200 or 300, 400 of their maybe best sales staff or maybe whoever it may be, and they take them to a destination. So it can't be too far away, like on the other side of the world. And they've been to every year, their planners, they have to find, and it's a big challenge for them, they have to find another island, which is a little bit different. Well, this is the new place, and here there are so many activities, much more than just lying on a beach like in our neighboring islands, if you like. So this is really going to be something for groups and conference center, but also for families and for people who want to really get into this new thing of resourcing themselves, if you like. The place is very spiritual. Dominica is such a spiritual place. And that you know what? I'm looking for this, and maybe I've found it now after talking to you. Maybe this is what I can't explain to people, what attracts me to it. Maybe it is the spiritual thing. And I wasn't spiritual until now. But maybe it's that. There's something that attracts people. And once people will come, people will come back and they will need it, actually. It's just a resourceful place, actually.
That's awesome. There's something about being in such a natural setting that it hasn't been run over by human footprint that I think connects you more to the environment, which highlights that spiritual element that's hiding within us. Yeah.
Maybe it's that.
Huh.
And just to resume, because I know you're running out of time, we will have 151 rooms and suites, of course. I mean, half of the hotel will be suites, okay, and large. Everything's large. 3 restaurants, of course, 4 swimming pools, 4 large swimming pools, 2 of which are heated, which may sound a little bit silly, but 2 are heated, on 15 acres right on the border of the Cabrits National Park.
That's really awesome. Anything else in terms of the resort? I know, when I say we're running out of time, it's not like we have a hard out. the world of podcasting is we could go as long or as short as we want. So is there anything else that you feel that we need to know about what this experience is going to be like, what your personal journey has been like? Maybe let's talk about what you're looking forward to the day it opens. What do you anticipate? What do you feel like your sense of accomplishment is going to be? Or is that even something that you could even consider 8 months out?
Well, I can, of course, because I've opened other hotels, so I know what the feeling is like. But here, what really my big my big dream is that once we open, every single departure, the guest will say to me, wow, I need to come back here. And that, for me, will be the success. How would I say? I'm able to record my success, judging by those responses.
Excellent. When do you think you're going to start taking reservations?
Well, we have a big meeting in March, actually middle of March, where we will decide officially which date we will open, and we will do that with obviously the architects and construction company, and they will tell us which date they can deliver the hotel, and from then on we will decide to open. But I think we will start taking reservations from middle March, end of March.
Beautiful. Well, I look forward to seeing what happens. So this is my favorite part of the segment where I let you guys do a good shameless plug. So anything that you like, go for it. You can just say anything you want about how to find the resort or whatever you want to do.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, this, first of all, something very important. It's Dominica, and it's not Dominican Republic, so it's not that island with all the all-inclusives and the millions of tourists that go there. This is untouched, uncharted, and this is back 400 years in time, and it is something, as I said, difficult to explain. But once you and I promise you, every single person without exception has said to me, it's my favorite island, and there's something that even I experienced, that once you're here, you need to come back. And you know, it's very simple. We'll be in all the major tour operators, all the major travel agencies. They'll know where to find us, how to get here. You just need to get to one of the neighboring islands. We'll do the rest for you. Come and pick you up in our airplanes, and then you'll have, honestly, the most interesting and spectacular. Don't get me wrong. It's not an island to come and lie on the beach and drink beer. It's not that at all.
Right.
It's an active holiday, but at the same time relaxing and resourcing. You'll go back feeling fresh, and you'll go back thinking, wow, there's not just the if I may say, the rat race that exists. This is something we need to come to every year just to resource ourselves and to get our batteries charged properly.
Right. I certainly don't see myself lying on a beach the entire time. I look at this more as a soft adventure travel. You go out, you do great experiences, then you come home and you get a little pampering in the evening. But, Dominica being untouched just really reminds me of me in high school. Untouched. So that's that's exciting. Okay. So
I won't comment.
Yeah, no. Best that you don't, Michael. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. I would like to have you back on when we get to the opening, because I want to hear what your experience is like once you open those doors and the world gets to see this beautiful place that you're creating. So
it's a great pleasure, Glenn.
Thank you so much for being here, and everyone stick around, because after this break, we've got another great interview with another amazing hospitality professional. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. You know, Red Roof's been using this slogan for a while. Genuine relationships, real results. And I've got to tell you, from the folks that I've met and gotten to know over the number of years, this is not so much a slogan, it's just who they are and the way that they do business. You know, partnering with Red Roof, it gets you their significant brand awareness, seasoned management team, and an owner-operated perspective that comes with managing some 120 properties themselves. And that's in addition to their award-winning marketing department, a richest in-class loyalty program with more than 2.5 million members, and a franchisee satisfaction rate of 86%. Plus, they're #1 in online guest reviews 8 years running. But that's not all, no. Red Roof Plus, the brand extension that created the upscale economy segment, has dramatically affected owners' financial results. Then, of course, you got the Red Collection, a group of mid-scale, unique hotels that are hyper-local and inspired by each city's vibe and culture, with brand standards based on consumer wants rather than design mandates. And for franchisees looking to get into the explosively fast-growing extended stay market, well, Hometown Studios by Red Roof now has more than 50 freshly renovated properties in 35-plus markets. So today it looks like many of the industry's best opportunities can be found under, here it comes, the same roof. Each offering genuine relationships, real results. Learn more by visiting redrooffranchising.com or call 888-473-8861. That's 888-473-8861. Tell them Glenn sent you.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Houseman.
Get your ears ready because we've got a great interview today. And I have with me Sean Worker, the president and CEO of Bridgestreet. Sean, how are you doing today?
How's it going, Glenn? Always good to see you.
Great to see you. It's fun running into you in a different city, and we had a chance to attend an event this week, but we started to talk about a topic that I think is fascinating. I really wanted to grab some time with you to talk on the mic because we're seeing a universe of convergence is what I'd call it right now. I'm seeing it happen in society. I'm seeing it happen within hospitality. I'm seeing it happen in all different permutations of the way that we want to live and think. And I know you've been thinking about this issue too. First issue is, do you agree that the world is kind of coming to a convergence in the way that we live?
Yeah, this is like one big Hollywood movie about convergence.
Right? I like that. Yeah. Next summer, Convergence, starring The Rock.
Right, Glenn. You've had a lot of Seattle coffee this morning.
Oh, yes. I should say we are in Seattle having
the home of coffee.
And, I had a lot of coffee today. So if I'm sounding a little bit freaked out, you know exactly
why. We're there.
Yeah.
We're having fun with it.
All right, so back to convergence.
It's, when we were chatting about this, is the societal changes and everything that's happening to all of us.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of setting the stage for the conversation. It's how we live, how we travel, how we judge each other, how we size each other up, all those cues when you meet somebody and you make some type of summary judgment as to who's standing in front of you in the first 30 seconds. Those cues are just wandering out the window.
And by the way, I was really uncomfortable with the way that you were judging me a little bit earlier.
Was I? About your coffee?
Yeah, well, just about the whole thing. I'm very insecure, Sean. I don't know if you picked up on
it's not that sort of podcast.
Oh, okay. So this is not therapy. I thought it was. I got confused. Let me reset that. Sean, we're with this whole convergence thing, I do see that the way that we want to live is changing. It used to be very simple. It used to be, drive your car to work every day, have that big house in the suburbs, the white picket fence, and, maybe go out with the spouse on a Saturday night. But the way that we live, the way that we work, the way that we want to experience life, it's completely changing.
Yeah. We're all I think there's a generational convergence, right? You have there's plenty of evidence where the millennials and the boomers are hunting for the same type of living experience, questioning, why do I buy a house when I can rent?
Right.
So we're all seeing challenges for supply. We're seeing density in most of the major cities in the world where we're all trying to live downtown. You want to get out and experience not just your own house that you have to maintain, but your dining room becomes the restaurant downstairs.
Right.
Where you meet your friends is at the local bar. It's like meeting Cheers.
Right.
You gotta go meet your favorite bartender and walk in so that somebody knows you exist. Hey, Glenn, how's it going? You want your normal cocktail.
Being that we're in Seattle, I would appreciate it more of a coffee shop reference as opposed to a Boston bar reference, but I'm going to let that one slip.
We'll go with that. Yeah. So, I think we're all, especially in the hospitality space, is how do you expand your offering in a dynamic environment when convergence and long lead time development are out of balance?
Right. And we've been seeing for so many years, especially on the pure hospitality side of the business, those shrinking booking windows. It used to be people planned a vacation or business trip so far in advance. And now, with the way society has moved and with the way that technology has become, I'm shocked that people are booking in such large numbers same day, for example.
The same day experience is coming probably on the back end of short-term needs to do business, but equally short-term capability of taking short breaks. The big argument out there is market share shrinking or growing, but when you really think about it, the ability for the number of trips that a individual, a couple, a family can take in a year has fundamentally changed. One, if you've made a decision to downsize your life in favor of the new wealth, which is time. and you're able to say, you know what, I'm going to downsize from the family home in the burbs with all the maintenance costs that go with that, with fundamentally a non-appreciating asset. You're then saying, okay, I've achieved that. I'm now living in a smaller space with less overhead. I don't have to mow the grass. Maybe I'll take a couple of extra breaks this year. And so, short breaks, right? So it's Monday, maybe we'll go away on Friday, and then comes into the experience and the alternate accommodations through your traditional hotel experience.
Right. So I like how you're framing it, because it does all come together with the younger generations, with the older generations, and
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
It's unreasonable to not care about us Gen Xers.
Okay, but seriously though, when we're in this experience economy, I've talked about that a lot. We used to be in a materialistic economy. The Great Recession was a great reset button, I think, on our society, and we started to go down this road of the experience economy. Technology has helped move us along a lot quicker, I think, in this experience economy, and I think what that's done is it changes the way that we want to stay when we travel. It used to be a family just had the hotel choice, or if they were clever, they could figure out how to rent a vacation home, right? It never occurred to people to maybe rent somebody's apartment downtown. There used to be some of those home swap services years ago, right? Like someone's going to Europe, they're coming here, blah, blah, blah. You swap homes. But technology now has enabled a convergence in the wider hospitality industry to bring all of these disparate things together, which is opening up choices for the consumer and making them realize, oh, we don't have to stay in traditional ways. We could stay any way we choose.
Mm-hmm. So the Great Recession was probably the great question mark.
Right.
What's next? And it's forced a long-term societal change. But also, when you look at the convergence of the ability to touch technology on your mobile device, so your extension of how you think about, you organize your life, how I order my food, I can have that delivered to my home, and it's actually logistically capable, but also from an AI perspective. The algorithms are there. I know exactly what I eat on Thursdays, so does the app that I use to order it from, whatever supermarket chain.
Right.
So that's given me time back. But you're applying that to medical, your health, you're applying it to wellness with a watch. You're applying it then to how you think about staying, how you think about moving. You get off a plane in an airport, you don't order the car, you go to the sharing app pickup zone, which I did at Seattle, and it's incredibly well organized here to do that.
Yeah, it's like it's the same thing as in like Las Vegas. If you've been there, it's in the parking garage. You go to a specific area, everybody pulls in, they go into a certain assigned spot. You're in, you're out, no confusion.
Correct, and even it's identifying the exact slot that the Uber driver is parking in. So that level of detail to get to micro locations, and then you're able to continue that journey, and then this pressure to find and source your travel is getting so much easier. So now you're expecting to consume a wide variety of accommodations in the same way as you do the rest of your life. And it has to be in a way that's consumer-oriented rather than a business process-orientation. So for us, when we started to change our model, we recognize that these fundamental notions of convergence onto fundamentally your life is on your phone.
Right.
So you have to give a range of choice that's easy to book, whether it's a hotel, whether it's a urban rental, or the notion of years ago going back to your, let's swap houses in this exotic way. You take my house in Denver and I'll take your house in Provence. It doesn't work like that anymore. You can do that within hours. Even if you want to swap your house, you want to list your house, you want to, have a party in your house, or list it for whatever wide range of uses. But from a Bridgestreet perspective, we recognize that, particularly for business, if you want to consumerize the notion of what your employee wants, they want to consume a business experience the same way as they consume it as an individual.
That's right. They want choice, they want freedom, they want an opportunity to make the decision on their own.
Because that's the new wealth. The freedom to roam, the freedom, if you're an individual contributor and you've made that decision over life, then you're going to work somewhere else, according to ERC, where we are today, is you're going to have 10 to 12 jobs in your life. Not everybody wants to be a manager. In fact, few are choosing a path of high-end, highly capable, B+ to A+ individuals or high contributors to the organization without the responsibility. But the freedom to roam is highly valued. So the freedom to stay and live and experience across 10, 12 jobs over your lifetime, and merging that and making it easy for a business to say, we recognize that. Here's extended stay hotels, here's here's homes, here's urban vacation rentals, here's vacation rental resorts, live in the resorts, don't care, as long as you produce. And, hostels, take a short break, stay in a generator, stay in a service department. It's within policy, it's freedom to roam, and we are the differentiated employer in that space. Everybody wants to win that we're the best place to work.
Right. And I think about how that's tied to the classic hotel industry. A lot of the major companies, when they started introducing lots of different brands within their portfolio, their goal was to, for every stay occasion, have a different type of property. If I'm alone on a business travel, I might want to take one type of property. If I'm a small business owner, I might want a different property.
Exactly.
I might want to use my points to stay in a luxury hotel in Hawaii. But that was only in one category. Now, for me personally in my business, I want to travel different ways all the time. If I'm at a conference, I definitely want to stay in that conference hotel if I'm a solo traveler, right? At this particular event that we're in, my great producer, Art for Here to Stay TV, we got a 2-bedroom apartment. So we could have private space, but we could work together. If I'm with my family, maybe I want a vacation home that's on a beach. And I could go on and on and on. If I'm in Amsterdam or something like that, maybe I want to stay in one of those hostels and feel more connected to the city. But whatever it is, as a consumer, I don't want to have to go to 6, 7, 8 different websites to find all those different flavors. So I think the next big area is one place where you can have all of these different choices laid out for you, and perhaps with the AI and machine learning to understand the nuances of when I want to stay in each of those different types of places.
We got to remember you.
Right.
It's got to be about you. It's not about the company. It's got to be about you.
Right.
We're a universe of one.
And I preach this all the time when on my different podcasts I do, when I do speaking engagements. I call it mass customization, the idea of creating individualized experiences for many, many people all at once.
And it's upon us. And, we're all faced with these interpretive trends. Are they flash in the pans? Or are they something that's structural? And, look, GBT has quoted this, 30% of companies are now adapting their travel policies to ensure that you can have freedom to roam within the fence, right? So going back to your concept of mass consumerization, right? Yeah. Make it capable on your travel program to be completely flexible, which is an oxymoron.
Right.
But it is highly achievable today, where it integrates across their platforms, it integrates into their expense management systems, and it integrates into an app that is on the individual's phone. That universe of one. And that's what's going to separate us all, be it from this fast evolution from horses that took a long time to move to cars. Cars took 40, 50 years to evolve. And then all of a sudden, in the last 5 or 6 years, this incredible velocity to the individual. I don't want a car. I want to rent it when I need it.
Right.
I want to pick up something that's not a taxi when I need it. And you know what? Now it's all about scooters.
That's right.
But what I think is interesting is how many cities are adapting their infrastructure, even just by painting different lines to say, here's the other form of transportation, including here's the lines for bikes and scooters and electric bicycles, and here's where you're going to park, here's when you're not going to park, here's how we're going to pedestrianize cities. It's changing the fabric of the individual.
When you think about life and living in the city, and I lived in Manhattan and Brooklyn for 20 plus years, and raising a family in Brooklyn, I had small twin boys at the time. We owned a car, and driving around trying to find a parking space could make me go crazy.
And you must have loved digging out with the snow.
Oh,
you had fun with it. Is that why you had the 2 kids?
So much fun, especially.
That's why you had the 2 kids. Isn't
exactly, right? Because toddlers are really great at shoveling snow. So the fact
poor
is,
children.
if I didn't own a car, I could have just rented a zip car, which would have been perfect. If I need to go to the grocery store, it's the same price as taking a car service. If I need to get out to IKEA to go buy some new build-it-yourself furniture, it was an easy way to do it. Now we're moving beyond that with the invention of Uber. I just I just summon someone and boom, I can go back and forth. It's really super cheap. I'm planning a trip right now, and I was thinking of renting a car, but I'm like, rental car will be about $200. Then there's parking fees. There's these other things. I could just do Ubers, and I'll spend less than it would have cost to rent a car, and I don't have to worry about filling it up. I don't have to worry about it getting busted up. I don't have to worry about anything.
And ultimately, you want time back.
Right.
It's that constant theme.
That's right.
And fit for purpose. If you take the wardrobe example, or you're picking up furniture, having a Ford Escort or in the day, or a Ford Focus later in the day, that's all moved to, I need a van for 4 hours. I'm going to get somebody else to do that for me. So it's fit for purpose. If I need a scooter because I'm just going around the corner, then I'll grab one of those.
Right.
Or, if I'm going shopping once a week, I'm just going to go grab the Uber for $5, go over there and get one back, and I'm done. So what we've all realized is how you spend your money and time converge. I can spend less and get more without the complication of maintaining a vehicle, maintaining the home that you've already burdened yourself with a mortgage, and saying, I'm going to rent. And right now, the way that interest rates are moving, not to historic highs clearly, people are questioning the fact of, if I include maintenance, insurance, taxes, and everything else that's associated with maintaining a home and being locked to that, why don't I rent?
Right.
And so that it's coming back to that.
Well, that's tough because we're upending what was been programmed to us here in America as the American dream. You're supposed to do X, Y, and Z, but younger people are not burdened by any of that, right? So I think that's why we have a habit of taking a look at what the millennials are doing and then making big declarations, even though the rest of society follows behind it. But I'm curious as to how all of this stuff that we've been talking about affects you as the CEO of a company, and how you're approaching the future with your strategy.
So the way that we think about our product line is really centered around the travel manager and their user. And taking these notions of convergence and saying, okay, you need one location. So it's being a solution-oriented aggregator of experiences that are for business. We only focus on business.
Right.
And so making it easy for them to consume it and then pass on that in a structured manner to their employee, which fits within their travel program and policy, but to bring the consumerization of that notion and the business policy notion and putting it together.
Right.
So there's added value for both parties. So it really is a win-win.
So you're looking to have
for everything past 5 nights, might I add.
Right, yes. You're looking to have a wide breadth of products to offer your corporate clients, who then in turn create a series of choices that are appropriate within their organization that gives the freedom and flexibility to the end user employee.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's a business, and that business is there to be profitable. And so we're part of that value chain that says for accommodation and how to access travel, you can do it in a very efficient way that's super transparent. You can compare a variety of accommodation types at different price points, different experiences, without compromising the expression of freedom. So you can have room to roam and do it within policy, do it within structured pricing hierarchy, without making it feel like a burden or less than valuable.
Right.
You can take a rule and turn it into freedom.
Right, and I think that's really essential as we are in a world of full employment right now. It's essential for companies to try to find new ways to engage their employees, keep them happy and satisfied, and that freedom of mobility and giving them more choices empowers the employee and makes them feel more valued by the company.
Well, capital is super liquid and geographically agnostic. So you want that valued workforce that in the event that you're moving your manufacturing plant from a town anywhere to a town in Europe, you want that labor, but more importantly, you want that intellectual capital and the culture to be transferable as well. So if you're able to offer a large portion of your workforce the freedom to move as well for short-term assignments to set up that business, how valuable is that?
It's extremely valuable, and I think about taking it to the next step. We're seeing a rise of what people are trying to call, I guess, a global nomad. They don't own rent. They just stay in places for 2 weeks, a month at a time, and then they move on. I mean, you could get, for what I'm paying in my mortgage, I could probably, and taxes and all that stuff, I could probably pay less than half of that a month and live in a great apartment anywhere around the world. Maybe not Hong Kong or something like that, but mostly anywhere in the world, and not be tethered anywhere, not have to worry about ripping up roots anytime I want to move. That is absolutely an unbelievable feeling.
It really is. And so as we're probably not trying to solve, world problems, we think that this environment is structural for the foreseeable future, where this notion of the nobility of mobility, right? The ability to, the expression of who you are isn't by the logo or the emblem of your car and how big your house is,
right?
Or what your address is. Your new address is freedom,
right?
And that freedom is wealth in itself. So it just blows all the social cues out of the water.
Well, it really does. Usually the wealthiest person in the room is the most sloppily dressed.
Yeah, which is great.
Right?
Right. I remember a story about from Burberry where the cues of who the customer is. There was a big retraining about, don't underestimate the dude with the hoodie coming in, because that may be the customer that you need to make your quota for that day. So be a little bit more respectful. I thought that was very inspirational to think about that case.
It really is. We got to
use
thank
case.
Mark Zuckerberg for bringing the hoodie
it's
into mainstream fashion.
And it keeps you warm.
Yeah, I love it. Anything else that you think we should be focused on? I think we really got that convergence story down pat.
Yeah, it's interesting how quickly these trends are changing, and those of us that are in either hospitality branding or the notion of identifying gaps in businesses that we can fill in our specialty, which is a good night's sleep, it's fascinating to have conversations with travel managers about what they're struggling with. Not just travel managers, but the HR leaders, the leaders in finance,
right,
to try and satisfy this environment probably for the foreseeable future. Yes, I agree we're at full employment, but there's full employment within full employment,
right,
depending on the type of
Agreed, yeah.
employee that you're trying to find. And so there's a big band in the middle that are intelligent workforce participants that have broad skills that probably weren't there before. You were a specialist in pharmaceutical, or you're a specialist in construction, or you're a specialist in tech, in some form of other vertical. Now you can merge across verticals and go horizontal versus staying in your vertical.
Right.
And that's confusing employers, because now your comp set for that mind share that will propel your company for the foreseeable future has had room to roam on a lateral basis. And so all of these perks, now there's a grid, be it the ones that are structured and they have a spreadsheet, or the ones that are just doing a quick mental compare and contrast, or saying, what's in it for me, what's in it for my career. Part of that is the experience at work, the flexibility to roam the planet, the flexibility to grow your career without taking on management, right? So that ability to, I'm really good at entry level, then I want to move up to the next layer and the next layer, but I want to do it in different parts of the business.
Right.
And that's really tough infrastructurally in the company to get your head around that. Our little bit of that is saying, we're going to make it easy for you to put at least one portion of that large contribution that people are expecting in front of them on a phone, and aggregate all of those choices in a manner that you can consume it. But more importantly, with a guarantee. We guarantee the experiences because we're the supplier of record and merchant of record.
Right.
You have to be able to hold somebody accountable, and you can hold us accountable because we do all the heavy lifting to make sure that all those accommodations are approved, curated, and guaranteed in a manner that company can feel that they have trust and the duty of care to and just to make sure they got a safe workforce on the road.
Now, one thing that you said that really struck me was the speed of change that's happening. Mm-hmm. As a CEO of a company, you need to, of course, be very aware of that speed of change, but you're making decisions for the company that's going to affect the business 3 years, 5 years, 10 years out. How do you wrap your head around what's a quick change that's it for the long haul, or one that might not really be around, so don't invest the time and the people into it?
Mm. So the table stakes for any company right now is your core technology infrastructure. So there's a different speed and planning cycle for that type of environment for all of us, rather than jumping on trend. Our approach has been buy versus build for about 3/4 of our platform, so that we've basically enlisted with best-in-breed technology to help them, to use them to keep us current. So that takes away so we've outsourced some of that responsibility. Then the next 25% is the innovation layer, where you're looking for trends, be it geographic, be it by product type, by user type. And so our model is agile, because again we're focused on 6 ways to stay, and so the companies that feed into us are naturally adapting and innovating in themselves. So when we present, it's super dynamic. It's not fixed. We're not fixed to a brand, right, where you have a long lead cycle.
Right.
You know, where there's a build cycle, there's a design cycle, and you have to look down the road as to, you know, what the latest technology and whether, you know, great, Bluetooth is Bluetooth, but there's another level beyond that that's coming. That's not really our concern. Mm-hmm. By virtue of being tapped into, you know, thousands of companies and individuals that are forced to innovate to keep their product alive,
right.
Our biggest issue is making sure that we're getting all of that in front of the right eyeballs at the right time in the right way that they want to consume it. So that's the sense of pressure we have.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. I like the way that you framed all that. And your reliance on other partners is smart, because it lets them be the thought leaders in that category, because you can't do absolutely everything, because then you wind up doing absolutely
nothing. But the piece that we owe our partners is intelligence.
Right.
By virtue of having that insight, we have an obligation to our customers, the travel managers and their employees, our guests, but also our supply partners. They're not suppliers. They're a key partner. Mm-hmm. And so our obligation is to bring that insight back to each one of them, so we can help their businesses be ahead of trend as well, not just sit here. We have to give back.
Right.
And so we have to be part of that value loop, and we have to be part of that intelligence loop and that innovation loop, and do our bit. And that's what hopefully will differentiate us from others.
Great. Any final thoughts?
I always appreciate hanging out. I have no idea where we go with these conversations.
I know.
And just as a matter of record for the listeners, we have not been drinking. It's early in the morning, and we probably had a little too much coffee. But
definitely hopped up on Starbucks.
Yeah. So thanks as always. And you've really grown this.
Nice.
It's really pretty cool. How many you got? Hundreds of thousands of listeners now?
Yeah, and
downloads
every month. Yeah, you know, and I love that we're going to be doing this series for Here to Stay TV podcast. I also do the No Vacancy podcast, the Hotel Tech podcast, the Hotel Design podcast. I'm doing an investment show coming soon, and the new crown jewel, checking in with Anthony and Glenn, which I co-host with Anthony Melchiori of Travel Channel's Hotel Impossible. Thank you for setting me up for a shameless plug. How about one right back at you? Give me a good shameless plug for Bridgestreet.
You're amazing, Glenn.
That's not a Bridgestreet plug.
I'm not going to plug Bridgestreet.
All right, I am. Go check out Bridgestreet.com. They got 6 ways to stay. Everything from design-led youth hostels to vacation rentals to traditional service departments. Whatever you can think, it's your way to stay. Your choices. That's Bridgestreet.com. Man, that sounds like an ad right there, is what it was. Good shameless plug. All right, for Sean Worker, President and CEO of Bridgestreet, and myself, Glenn Hausman, thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.